The topic of this lecture is the ARM architecture. Okay, so in this lecture, okay, so in this lecture we are going to see the architecture of your ARM processor. The agenda of this lecture is to discuss the RISC and CISC architecture. Okay, we have to compare this RISC and CISC architecture. Then we have to see von Neumann and Harvard bus architectures. Then I will discuss some history of the ARM processor, and then I will discuss the key features of your RISC processor. Then how to use RISC processor, or how to use ARM processor. What is this ARM7 TDMI nomenclature? Then we have to see the architecture of your ARM processor, some internal details such as different register sets available for the ARM processor. Then some status register like CPSR or SPSRs, called as the current program status registers or saved program status register, that are available for the ARM processor. Then there are some different modes, operating modes of your ARM processor. So that also we have to see, and we have to see the concept of what is a banked registers. Okay, basically we try to see the architecture, history, features, and what are the internal details of the ARM processor. So that is what the agenda for this lecture. Before we start the ARM architecture, we have to see there are different types of architectures available for the microcontroller and microprocessor. So the first architecture that is available in the this ARM7 processor is called as a CISC processor. Okay, so the long form of this CISC is nothing but the complex instruction set computing. Okay, complex instruction set computing, and there is a one more architecture that is developed after this CISC architecture, that is called as a RISC, that is called as a RISC. Okay, it's called as a reduced set instruction set. So these are the two architecture called as a computational architectures available for the microprocessor or microcontroller. Okay, so what is the basic difference between these two architecture that we have to see? Okay, and then what type of architecture is used in the ARM7 microcontroller, that we have to see. So first CISC architecture is developed, and then RISC architecture is developed, that you have to remember. Now the first point of comparison is based upon the size of the instructions. Okay, so there are different sizes of your instruction that are going to execute. For example, instruction may be of 8-bit size, or 16-bit, or 32-bit, or 64-bit. Okay, so depending upon the size of instructions, we can compare the CISC and RISC architecture. So the first point of comparison is variable size instructions with many formats. Okay, that means for your CISC architecture, you have different instructions, and those instructions having different size, that is called as a variable size. That means one instruction is of 32-bit, another may be of 16-bit. Okay, so there are many formats for this CISC. So that is somewhat problematic for your CISC, because the programmer has to remember all those instructions and also the size of the instructions. Whereas in a RISC processor, if you observe, in RISC processor we have fixed size instruction. That means all the instructions are executed with a fixed size, that is of 32-bit processor. Okay, and there are very few formats for the execution of this ARM7 or the RISC processor. So this is what the advantage of your RISC, that is all the instructions are of fixed size. Okay, so there is no need to remember the size of the instructions, because all the instructions will executed as a 32-bit instructions. Now the second comparison point between the CISC and RISC is it's a clock. Okay, that means the clock frequency required for instructions. So in CISC architecture, there are multiple clock of complex instructions. Okay, that means you have a number of complex instructions, and that will use multiple clocks, okay, for the execution. Now if you see in reduced instruction, that means a single clock is used to execute all the instructions. Okay, there's no need to change the clock of the instructions. So that is also one of the advantage of RISC over the CISC. Third point, that is in terms of memory to memory load and store instructions. Okay, so in CISC, the data transfer will take place by using memory to memory load and store instructions. Okay, so these are two instructions called as a load and store. Okay, so load means you have to load the data from memory to registers, and store means you have to store the data from register to memory. Okay, so CISC will based upon memory to memory load and store instructions, and this is quite complex, because if you want to communicate with the memory, then it will take more time. Okay, now to reduce this reduce this drawback of CISC, RISC architecture will use register to register load and store architecture. Okay, so this is nothing but a very simple way to work on the data. Okay, so rather than downloading the data from memory each and every time, which will increase the access time or execution time, so those execution time can be reduced by using register to register load and store architecture. Okay, so what is done in this register to register load and store instructions, we have to download all those instructions into the temporary registers, and whatever the operation that will takes place, that are taken on the registers on registers only. Okay, so no operation. For example, you have to add two registers, let A and B. Okay, so addition, subtraction, whatever the operations that are performed on the registers only, and this is not possible on memory directly. So operating on the register is quite cheap, and operating on the memory is quite costly. Okay, so in terms of the execution time, that means registers requires less time for the execution, whereas memory requires more time for the execution or to access the instruction from the memory. Okay, so this is the third advantage of the RISC over the CISC. Then fourth advantage or the fourth point is in terms of the code size. In CISC, the code size of CISC is very small. Okay, but it requires high cycles per execution. That means the code size of instruction is small, but it requires more time for the execution. Whereas in RISC, you have the large code size of instructions, but these are executed in a low cycle per second. That means it is very fast compared to the CISC. Then further point is in CISC, the emphasis on hardware complexity. Okay, that means the more focused, that is CISC will focus on hardware complexity. That means it will make the hardware more complex, and it will make a software simple. Okay, so this is also one of the disadvantage, because you cannot change the hardware every time, but you can change the software. Okay. Okay. Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it audible? Understandable? Okay. I think it's okay. Okay. So, so the next point. So the next point is emphasis of your CISC and RISC. So basically, CISC will always put more effort on the complexity of the hardware. That means it will increase the complexity of the hardware, but it will not increase the complexity of software. Okay, but in RISC, what happens? We know that for if we change the applications, we have to change the hardware also. So this is very costly way to implement your application. So you have to use the RISC architecture where the more emphasis is on software complexity. That means you can make your code or program very complex, Okay, and you can reduce the hardware cost here. Okay, that means the more focus is put on the complexity of the software rather than putting the complexity on hardware, because we know that software can be upgraded, it can be changed, but we cannot change the hardware frequently, because changing the hardware, it will increase the cost of your hardware. So the next point in the risk is, if you use the hardware, then if you try to change the hardware according to your applications, so you have increased hardware cost. That means the cost of your hardware will be increased, because your hardware is not flexible, it cannot be get changed according to the applications, because your hardware is always fixed, but you can change your programs. Okay, now there is a one more advantage of risk over the CISC is that the hardware cost is reduced. Okay, because we are keeping your hardware constant and we are just changing the software. That means we are working on the complexity of your software uh, compared to the complexity of the hardware, because we know that changing the software is a much simpler task rather than changing the hardware. So it will reduce the cost of the hardware also. So CISC having one more advantage, that it will put the focus on the software complexity compared to the hardware complexity that is in CISC, and because of that it will reduce the hardware cost. Okay, now next point is that CISC is more complex, as we know that it's a complex instruction set of computing, and it operate at lower frequencies. That is the advantage. That means the speed of the CISC is slow compared to the risk. So risk has improved on both of these aspects. So first aspect is a risk is a very simple, okay, compared to the complex architecture of CISC, and it can operate at very high clock frequencies. Okay, that means the speed of the execution of your instruction in RISC is very high compared to the CISC. So all of these advantages or benefits, okay, that will lead to the maximum use of RISC architecture in all the microprocessor and microcontroller. This is the reason why the RISC architecture is selected in most of the ARM based products. Okay, so these kinds of questions might be asked in exam also, in theory exam, or in your oral also. Okay, or in your technical orals also. Okay, so I think first point is over. Okay, and you have understood this point. This is nothing but the simple comparison of your CISC architecture with the RISC architecture, and we have seen that your RISC architecture will come out as a winner, okay, compared to the CISC architecture, because of there are number of advantages of RISC architecture over the CISC architecture. Okay, so this is the reason why RISC architecture is used in ARM microprocessor. So that's why this is called as an advanced RISC machine. Okay, so ARM is advanced RISC machine. It uses RISC type of architecture because it having different advantages like fixed in size instructions, single clock reduce instructions. It will work on register to register load store architecture. It having large code size but low cycles per seconds. It will put the emphasis on software complexity, and it reduce the hardware cost. And it is a simple architecture compared to the CISC, and it can operate at a very high clock frequency. So these are the reason why this architecture is that is more popular compared to the CISC architecture, and subsequently it is used in the ARM families also. Okay. Now there is another type of architecture that we have seen in previous microcontrollers also. So that architecture is called as a bus architecture. Okay, it depends upon the type of bus we are going to use. So first architecture is called as a von Neumann architecture. Okay, and another architecture is called as a Harvard architecture. Okay, now what is the difference between von Neumann architecture and Harvard architecture, and what are the advantages of von Neumann architecture and the Harvard architecture? So that we have to see, and accordingly we have to select one of the architecture for the answer. Okay, so von Neumann, what is happening in von Neumann architecture? We have common bus for data and instructions. Okay, so in microcontroller there are basically two types of memories. One is called as a data memory, and another is called as a program memory, or it is also called as a RAM, or also called as a ROM. So there are two different memories are there, and also the purpose of these two memories is also different. Okay, so here program memory will store the program or the code of the instructions, and this is usually the ROM, that is read-only memory. That means whatever the fixed data, so that is written on the ROM, and you have another memory is called as a RAM. Okay, and whatever the data that is going to change itself, so that kind of data is put into the RAM, because it is a random access memory. So you can read or you can write on the memory. Okay, but you cannot write or rewrite frequently on the ROM memory. So that is the reason why there are two types of memory. Okay, and depending upon these two types of memory, we have to use the two types of architecture. One is called as a von Neumann architecture and Harvard architecture. Okay, now you have to understood that there are two memories. First memory is a program memory, and second memory is a data memory. Okay, so program memory is used to store the data that is called as a code or instructions into the memory, whereas data memory is used to store the data. Okay, data in your program or in your instructions. So there are two types of memories we have seen: program memory and also the data memory. Now if you use von Neumann type of architecture, what happen in this architecture? So you have the CPU and you have the memory, and this both the memories, program memory and data memory, will share the same bus. Okay, so there are two types of bus. One is the address bus and another is a data bus. Okay, so for both the memory, that is program memory and data memory, there is a common address bus and also the common data bus. So that kind of architecture is called as a whole Neumann type of architecture. Here if you want to access or CPU want to access some code or data from your program or data memory, it has to use a common address bus as well as data bus. Okay, so that is what shown by these arrows. Okay, now another architecture is called as the Harvard architecture. Okay, now what happened in Harvard architecture, again you have two types of memory. One is a program memory and another is a data memory. Okay, program memory will store the instructions or the code of your instruction into the memory, and the data of your program is stored in the data memory. Now in Harvard architecture, we have separate address bus as well as data bus for the program memory as well as data memory. Okay, that means there is no common bus we have to share between the program and data memory, and this will increase the speed of your execution because we have different address bus and data bus. So simultaneously we can fetch the data from the program memory as well as data memory. Okay, but this is not possible in the your von Neumann type of architecture, because you can either assess or fetch the data from program memory or the data memory because of the single address and single data bus. But in Harvard architecture, you have separate address bus for program and separate address bus for data, as well as the data bus for data and the fetch bus or data bus for the program. Okay, so that means in Harvard architecture we have two separate address and data bus for program memory and data memory, and this will increase the speed of execution, and this is the reason why Harvard architecture is faster than the von Neumann type of architecture. But Harvard architecture is most costly, more costly compared to the von Neumann architecture. Okay, so von Neumann architecture is simple in nature. Harvard architecture is complex in nature. Okay, but Harvard architecture is faster compared to the von Neumann. Okay, so there are some advantages and also some disadvantages. So according to the speed of the operations, we can select the Harvard architecture. Okay, before I again continue, I just want to check. Okay, so there are 8 peoples. Okay, I I think it's okay. Is it understandable to all? Are you getting the difference between CISC and RISC architecture? First architecture. Uh, then we have gone for the von Neumann architecture and the Harvard architecture. Okay. Okay. Fine. So this is what you have to remember. Okay, so try to remember this kinds of diagram in between, that is in between the CPU, central processing unit, want to just, it's very simple. Central processing unit want to fetch the data from the program and data memory. So how it will do, or how it will perform this task? So it requires two bus. One is the address bus, that is because memory having the addresses from let 00 to some let FFFFX. Okay, so out of that address you have to select one, you have to select one of the address, and at that address you have put some data. So that data you can read by using data bus. So what is the significance of address bus? Address bus will send the address, okay, or it will communicate the address of the point or the memory location at which you want to access that data. Okay, and data bus will communicate, or it will fetch that the data that is available on the address bus. Okay, or on the address that is put on the address bus. Okay, so that is the significance of address bus and the data bus. So data bus will fetch the data, and address bus will put the address at which we want to access the data. Okay. Okay. I have just explained the RISC and CISC and Von-Neumann architecture and the Harvard architecture also. Okay. Now you can compare the Von-Neumann architecture and Harvard architecture. So what is the first point of comparison? Von-Neumann architecture is a simple, that is, it is simpler than Harvard architecture. Okay, this is the first point. Harvard architecture is somewhat complex. Another advantage of Harvard architecture is that it having separate address and data bus. So this will increase the speed of the operation, okay, between the CPU and the memories. However, Von-Neumann architecture having the common address and data bus in between the CPU and your memories, so the speed of this Von-Neumann architecture is slow compared to the Harvard architecture. Okay, now what is the disadvantages of Harvard architecture? Now, since Von-Neumann architecture uses single address and data bus, it having a very low cost. Okay, but Harvard architecture uses separate address and data bus, so the cost of this architecture is also increases, and also the complexity of handling the both the address and data bus simultaneously. So this complexity also increases in Harvard architecture. While in Von-Neumann architecture, it is very simple to operate because you have single address and data bus. So overall, if you want a speed, want to increase the speed of your execution or communication between the CPU and the memory, you can use the Harvard architecture. So what is done in ARM7, we are using Von-Neumann type of architecture. Here in ARM9, we are using Harvard architecture. So that you have to remember. Okay. So ARM7 uses Von-Neumann type of architecture, whereas ARM9 uses the Harvard architecture. So that is what the outcome of this second point, microcontroller architecture. Now the third point, that we have to see some history of the ARM. Okay, so that is the development of your ARM. So that is, so it is started in 1970s basically. Okay, so in 1970s, memories are very costly. Okay, so there is a need to develop a compact instruction set. Okay, is why we have to design a compact instruction set, or also called as a reduced instruction set. Why we have to reduce the instruction set? The reason is very simple, because in those years the cost of your memory is very high. Okay, that is, your memories are very costly. Okay, at that time. Just recently the cost of the memories goes down. Otherwise the cost of memory is very high in previous or whatever the conventional years. Okay, now what happened in those years, the CISC architecture is already developed. That is what I have explained. Okay, now there is a company whose name is Acorn. Okay, so Acorn is the company who have developed this ARM processor. So Acorn company wanted to build a successor of 6502. So this is the your ARM processor having a architecture of, for example, CISC architecture that is used in this kinds of processor. Okay, called as a 6502. Okay, so but existing CISC design companies were having many manpower. That means this is company that is a well established company, and it having a lot of or very large manpower, and also they have the experience. Okay, they have worked for a number of years on the processor architecture, so they have the experience, and also they have the lot of manpower. Okay, whereas your company that is called as Acorn was only 400 employee company. Okay, and was unable to compete with the CISC type of companies. Okay, because they were having no experience, and also they have no enough investment capability. Okay, so the Acorn company, that is very limited company of only 400 employees, and also they have no experience on working the architectures of your processors, and also they have no capability to invest into the development of this processor architecture. Okay, so now this is what the problem with the Acorn. So they want to replace this 6502 type of processor architecture, which is a CISC architecture. They want to replace which is used in BBC computers. Just see, so this processor is used in BBC computers, and this processor uses the CISC type of architecture. Okay, and your Acorn company want to replace this type of 6502 type of architecture, which uses the CISC architecture. So they want to replace this CISC architecture by using a RISC architecture. So they have formed a 4-man VLSI design team. Okay, and this 4-man VLSI design team, okay, so they have developed this RISC type of architecture. Okay, so only 4 men are able to develop the RISC architecture in 1983 to 1985. Just say, so RISC is developed in between 1983 to 1985. Now after that RISC architecture, up to still date, there is no any other architecture that is developed by the scientists. Okay, so you just see the simplicity of this 4-man. Okay, and also they have the no experience on working on the processor. So this architecture is one of the best architecture that is designed and developed by those 4 mans. Okay, and still date there is no any other competitor to the RISC. Okay, so that is all about the this ARM histories. This Acorn company just want to replace the CISC architecture into the processor 6502, which is used in BBC computers. So they have formed a 4-man VLSI design team, and they have developed this particular architecture called as a reduced instruction set of computing, and it is one of the widely used architecture right now in all the industries. Okay, so that is what the significance of this ARM. Now this ARM is that is founded in November 1990. Now spun out of Acorn Computer. So the first name of this company is Acorn Computer, and right now it is called as ARM. Now, what is the basic products of your ARM that you have to see? So ARM designs the ARM range of RISC processor cores. Just see, now this is very important. So RISC or this ARM company will just designs the RISC processor core. Just see, it will designs the architecture or the core of your processor. It will not going to manufacture the ARM ICs. Okay, whatever the integrated circuits. Okay, so these integrated circuits are not manufactured by the your ARM company. So they will just work into the design of your processor core, and it will licenses this ARM core designs to semiconductor partners who can fabricate and sell to their customers. So whatever the microcontroller ICs we are going to purchase, so these ICs are fabricated, okay, by some other companies. Okay, that means the company who actually develops the core, that company is a different, and the company which will actually fabricate the core, that is also the different. So ARM company will just designs and develop this processor cores, and it will hand over all these designs to some companies that will fabricate and sell these ICs to the customers. Okay, so ARM does not fabricate silicon itself. So this is very important. ARM does not fabricate silicon itself. So someone can ask or may raise the question that why the ARM will not manufacture or it will not fabricate the ICs. Okay, So just see that company having different visions. They want to be included, or they want to focus on the design and development of the different processor cores only, and they are not want to into the business of fabricating these ICs, okay, and selling to the customers. So they have another vision, that means they want to put their more efforts or focus on design and development rather than fabricating and selling and then taking the revenue or benefits from those ICs. Okay. So that is what the difference between the companies, those who will design the your processor cores, and the companies that will fabricate your ICs and sell those to the customers. Okay. So it may happen that is these other companies that will fabricate and sell the your products or the ICs to the customers. So those companies will get more benefits compared to the ARM also. Okay, but still your ARM company will just focus on the design of the processor, and it will hand over these designs to some companies that will actually fabricate and sell to the customers. Okay. So right now, ARM is one of the brand name in embedded, and it having a number of partners. Okay, they will develop different types of embedded technologies and the architectures also. So your ARM also develops technologies to assist with the design in of the ARM architecture. So this ARM right now work on software development of the tools. It will develop different boards, debug hardware, some application software. It will design different bus architectures. It will design some peripherals also. Okay. Now this is the slide that will show you the different partners of your ARM. Okay, so in the middle you can observe that this is a ARM in partnership. So right now this company ARM will work in partnership with all the major companies, okay, in the world. Okay, for example, have you heard about Qualcomm? This is one of the best company in communication, Qualcomm. Okay, then Mitsubishi, already you know electrical, then you know the Motorola, Fujitsu, okay, Toshiba, Philips, Epson, okay, Alcatel, all those companies, whatever the Yamaha, okay, Silicon Wave, Sharp, IBM. Just see, you just name the company, and that company will get partner with this company. Okay, because this company basically concentrate or focuses on the design and development of the core technology. Okay, so this is one of the these are some of the partners that will work on the ARM. There are some other partners also. Okay, that is sub partners based upon RTOS. Just see. So ARM also having its own RTOS partners. So in RTOS, you have different types of companies like firmware systems, Soul, Assess. Okay, just in Microsoft that you know, Kadak, then US Softwares, Precise, Lineo, QNX. So this is one of the operating system called as a real-time operating system, QNX. Java, Microwire, WindRiver, okay, Firmworks, Sun, XE, Symbian. Just this is a Symbian OS. So this Symbian operating system is used in all the mobiles. So right now, whatever the mobiles we have, so we are using Symbian type of real-time operating system. So, so there are a number of partners in the RTOS product also. Then ARM also develops some softwares also. So in software there are different software partners like this. See, Microsoft, you have Ericsson, okay, Intertrust, okay, Corporation, Bluetooth, Symmetric, QNX. This see, there are a number of partners. Also there are different tools that are developed by this ARM. So it also work on some partners like this see here, Textronics, Axis, WindRiver, okay, Versity, Aptix, Aligned, Synopsys, okay, Alcatel, Agilent Technologies, okay. So Cadence, you may have heard this Cadence. Cadence is one of the company, okay, a software in which we write a program for VLSI, okay. So this is an industry license software called as a Cadence. It is widely used in industry to write down this your VLSI based course. So there are a number of partners right now that are working with ARM. So ARM is one of the brand name in your embedded and technology development right now. Okay, so this is all about the your ARM. So right now ARM type of processor or cores are used in different applications. You can start from your hard drive, mobile phones, PDAs, cameras, okay, all your networking devices, routers, switches, okay. So you can just name the printers, okay, pagers, or just say TV, DVD player, all these devices, all the electronic devices right now that are get powered by the ARM-based processor, maybe ARM7, ARM9, or Cortex type of processors. Okay, so that is what the significance of this ARM. Okay, so up till now we have covered 3 points. The first point is the comparison between the CISC architecture and the RISC architecture. Second point that we have covered is again comparison of von Neumann architecture and the your Harvard architecture. Here your von Neumann architecture is simple, but it is slow. But Harvard architecture is somewhat complex, but it is more faster compared to the von Neumann. Okay. So ARM7 uses the von Neumann type of architecture, and ARM9 uses the Harvard type of architecture. The third point that we have seen, that is the history of the your ARM processor. Okay, some details about the company, how it will design your RISC processor. Okay, again, the basic focus of this company is on design of the processor core rather than the, fabricating and selling to the customer. And very important is the different partners that work with ARM, and what are the application of this ARM powered devices right now. So basically ARM processors are widely used in all the applications, or I can say in most of the embedded devices that we have in your household, starting from the your electronic TV, then fridge, refrigerator, microwave, oven, mobiles, pagers, laptops, everywhere. So everywhere you will get a these embedded systems, and these are get powered by this ARM-based products. Okay, or the processor like ARM7, ARM9, or the Cortex core of your ARM7 series. Okay, I hope you understood these two or 3 points. Okay, so before we start the next point, just give me some confirmation whether you understood this 3 point or not. If you have any questions regarding these 3 points, you can unmute yourself, or you can put your question into the chat box also. I have got one response. Okay. What about other people's? There are 5 to 6 other people's. Whether they are getting the these concepts or not. Okay, all these concepts are very important, and definitely they will be asked in your orals. Okay. Everywhere, not only this subject orals, but in your project oral, or maybe in your technical papers or vivas. So this is very important part. Okay. Okay, I hope you understood. Then we will basically start the ARM architecture. Okay, so in ARM architecture, first of all, we will see some of the key features of your ARM processor. Means what are the important features of your ARM processor. So the first important features of your ARM processor is a fixed instruction size. That means your ARM families will work on a 32-bit of instruction. That means whatever I have to add 2 numbers, okay, by using ARM7. So these 2 numbers are a 32-bit. So I have first 32-bit number and another 32-bit number. So whatever the operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, whatever the operations that are performed, so that are performed on 32 bits. That's why this is called as a that's why your ARM7 is called as a 32-bit processor. Okay, so the size of your processor is nothing but the size of your instruction on which your processor can work. Okay, so the first important feature is it having a fixed 32-bit instruction size with few formats. Second feature is it having a load store architecture. Okay, so we have to understand what is the load store architecture and what is the use of load store architecture. Okay, so processor operate on data held in registers. That is also very important. Processor operate on data held in registers rather than operating on the memories, because we have seen that doing the operations on the memory is quite costly. Okay, costly means it requires more time to fetch the data from the memory. Okay, and then you have to perform the operation. Okay, actual operation. So this time is more in memory to memory operations. Okay, and that can be reduced by using registers. Now we have to understand what is the load architecture and what is the store architecture. So what do you mean by load? Load instructions will load the memory to registers. Okay, load means you have to load the contents of your memory to the registers. Okay, and what do you mean by store? Stores means whatever the result of your operations, you have to store that result of operations from the registers to memory. Okay, so load store architecture is nothing but loading the data from the memory to registers and storing the data from registers to memory. So that is called as a load store architecture. Just remember this one, it's quite simple. Okay, now why this register to register architecture is used, or why this load store architecture is used. So I have explained that memory accesses are costly. Okay, that means if you try to access the memory, okay, so what is the procedure? The procedure is to, you have to put the address on the address bus. Okay, and then it will go to that address, and then that data from that address is fetched, and that is put on the data bus. Okay, now if you observe, this time is actually, that is the main problem, because this access time is more. Okay, so you can reduce this access time if I put my data in the register. So if I work on the register to register, then I need not to go for the memory fetch operations, and that will reduce the your processing time. Again, use data items held in the registers bank multiple times without needing multiple memory access. So if your data is on your registers, there is no need to go to the memory to access that data. Okay, so that is what the advantage if you use the register or load store architecture rather than your memory architecture. The third feature of your your RISC processor is a large register bank. Okay, that means your ARM7 or RISC processor having a large register bank. That means there are number of registers available. So there are total 37 registers available for all general purpose operations in your RISC processor. So that we'll see in the next slide. The fourth feature is a high performance. Okay, so your RISC processor will provide you the high performance. What is high performance? That means it will execute a mega instructions per seconds. Okay, and when it will execute those mega instructions per seconds, it will consume less power. Okay, so that is what the advantage of RISC. So if anybody asks you why to use a RISC or ARM processor, so your answer is very simple, because ARM processor will give you the very high performance with a very low power consumptions. Okay, so that is what the advantage. So higher performance with a lower power consumptions. Okay, now for example, just see, it is very difficult to achieve these two tasks. Okay, for example, we have to run from Malegaon to Baramati. Okay, and as we increase the speed of our running, what happen, the energy is also increases. Okay, that means our energy consumption is also increases. The same is applied to the processor also. So when your processor try to execute more number of instructions, it will also fetch the more power. Okay, so that is what the concept. Okay, but what happened in your ARM7, even though it will execute a more number of instruction, that is in mega instructions per second, but still it will consume the less power. Now that is what the advantage of this particular processor. Okay, so providing the higher performance at a very lower power consumption. Okay, And then last feature is due to less development cost, all new companies adopted risk for their design. It's why to use risk because there is a very less development cost. Okay. So all these are the features that will lead to the use of this risk architecture in your ARM-based products. Okay. So one point we have seen uh, that is number of registers available in an ARM processor. So there are 37 pieces of 32-bit integer registers available. So there are total 37 registers available for the ARM 7 processor. Out of that, 16 registers are available in that particular mode. Okay. Now next feature of your ARM 7 is a pipeline. Okay. So ARM 7 is called as a 3-stage pipeline. Okay. Now what do you mean by pipeline? Pipeline means you have different. That means you have some particular task to perform. Okay. So if I give this task to only one person, so let it requires say 1 day to complete. Okay. But if I divide that task, okay, and if I assign that task to more people, let I have divided the given task into 3 people, okay, or 3 parts, and each part is assigned to each person, okay, and let each person requires some 1 hour to complete, okay. Now within a 3 hours we can complete a that particular task if we use 3 persons to complete the task. But if you assign the same task to a single person, it requires the whole day. Okay, so that means if I use some type of pipelining type of concept, so that will reduce the execution time of your task, or it will increase the execution speed of your programs. So in this ARM 7, we are using the 3 stage of pipelining, which will increase the execution speed of your processor. So that is what the advantage of using the pipeline stages in your ARM 7. Okay. Here ARM 7 is a 3-stage pipeline only. ARM 9 that uses the 5-stage pipelines. Now next feature is that the cached. That means your ARM 7 will use a cache memory depending on the implementation. Next feature, ARM 7 uses a von Neumann type of bus architecture that we have seen. So ARM 7 will uses the von Neumann type of bus architecture where the data bus and the address bus that are common for both the program memory as well as data memory. And if you go for the Harvard architecture, it will be implemented by using your ARM 9 type of processor where the speed of execution is much higher. Okay, we have seen that. So if you compare ARM 9 with ARM 7, we can say that since ARM 9 will use Harvard type of architecture, so it is much more faster compared to the ARM 7 type of processor because it uses the von Neumann type of architecture. Okay, so this is one of the features. Next feature is that ARM 7 can work on different data types. That means it can work on, even though it is 32-bit processor, but it can work on 8-bit, 16-bit, or 32-bit. Okay, data. The next feature is that ARM 7 having 7 different operating modes. Okay, so 7 modes of operation that is called as a user, then fast interrupt request, simple interrupt request, then called as a supervisor control, okay, abort, system, and undefined. So I will discuss in maybe in next lecture the different operating modes of your ARM 7. The next feature of this ARM 7 is its simple structure. Okay, so simple structure means because it having reasonably good speed. Okay, so it will provide the higher performance or good performance at the cost of very small power. Okay, so it will consume very small power and still it will provide the good performance or the higher performance. That is the reason why ARM is used in most of the embedded systems. Next feature is it having most ARMs implement 2 types of instruction set. Okay, so in ARM there are 2 types of instruction set called as ARM instruction set and the thumb instruction set. So ARM instruction set is nothing but the 32-bit instruction set is called as ARM instruction set, and 16-bit instructions are called as a thumb instruction set. Okay, so by default it uses ARM, which is 32-bit, and thumb instruction set is nothing but the 16-bit. So you have to remember these two types of instruction set. Now why we have to use ARM? Okay, so why it is used in the word that is it is most popularly used processor in the most of the household devices. So because right now ARM is used in PDA, personal digital assistant. It is also used in cell phones, in multimedia players, handheld game console, and digital TVs and cameras. Now ARM7 having application in iPod also, ARM9 having the application in NTS, PSP, Sony Ericsson, BenQ. Okay, then ARM11 having application in Apple iPhone, Nokia N93, N800. Okay, so 75% of the 32-bit embedded processors will use ARM processors. Okay, 75% of the 32-bit embedded processors all over in all the embedded devices or the systems. Okay, so it is used especially in portable devices due to its low power consumption and the reasonable power performance, that is MIPS, mega instructions per seconds per watt. Okay, so it will execute more number of instructions, okay, at the cost of very less power. So this is the reason why ARM is used in all of these embedded systems. Okay, and also there are some other several interesting extensions available or in development, like thumb instruction set or Java machines also. Okay, so some higher end extensions or applications are also available for ARM7. That is, if you use ARM9 or higher processors like Cortex M3 processors. So this processor can work on embedded as well as DSP processors also. Okay, so whatever the DSP applications that can be executed by using this ARM processors also. Okay. Okay, so this is all about your ARM7.